God, I get out of breath just listening to you. Wow. That was just spectacular. Oh, did you write that? He wrote that. And I have to tell you, if you don't have a his Charles Holt CD in your car, he'll be selling them after the service. I hope he runs out today, because really, you should all have one. Oh, okay. So, So I actually had a title for my talk today last week, and I changed it in the middle of the week. I was going to talk about the I am, and you know, in CPR, I talk a lot about the I am, understanding that I am is a complete sentence. We spend a lot of time trying to follow I am with something that makes sense to us, and yet I am is a complete sentence. And that's what I was going to talk about today. And then something happened in the middle of the week. Actually, nothing happened in the middle of the week other than Jay badgering me for a talk title. And I didn't want to give it to him. And then finally I realized I didn't want to talk about that. And I had this thing come up in my head, and I wanted to talk about this word called deserve. 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 And so I decided to go with that, not knowing why. I had no idea why. And then yesterday, when the verdict came in, and it seemed like our country was about to explode all over again over this understanding and idea of justice and whether or not someone got what they deserved, I thought, wow, God, in me, as me, through me, you always know what to say, and you always know how to push me to somewhere that's going to be really uncomfortable, but really good and really important. So I have to be honest, I have not followed this case. I don't get involved in those things other than to know the truth will always prevail, and to know that love will always be at the center of everything. So I'm not one of those people that follow these things and get all involved emotionally. My emotions are involved in one thing: I am. And believe me, that takes enough of my time up. It really does. You know, I am God it's a full job to figure that out and live it. So I don't get involved in all the little things. And I don't mean to demean this as a little thing, but ultimately in life, in the long, big picture, it will end up being that. So last night when everything was exploding, of course, Facebook, everybody, people had opinions, people that I have 3,000 followers on Facebook. I don't know most of them, but I know their opinions now on this. And there were so many of them, and a lot of them upset me. A lot of them made me very worried. My own family, that some of their opinions really didn't surprise me, but it just made me very uncomfortable. And on the listserv, which is the minister's listserv, all the ministers were talking about how they needed to come in today and talk about this. And, my feeling is usually, I'm not doing that. But I knew I was going to, because I also then knew that the title that I picked for my talk actually lent itself very well to this. So I'm going to start with the idea of the word verdict. It's from the Latin verdictum, which literally means to say the truth. Verdict, to say the truth. Also, another meaning is the finding or decision of a jury on the matter submitted to in a trial. And it's an opinion. A verdict is an opinion, a judgment. So a verdict like one that came down yesterday, is supposed to be speaking the truth. But it's a truth with a little t. It's the truth about the facts. That's the verdict. And it's an opinion. This jury would give this opinion. Put a new jury together. They might have a different opinion. Put this jury together. They might have a different opinion. So how rock solid can it be, really? Well, I'm leading you in one direction, but I'm actually going to take you in another. Because we either do or we do not believe in divine right action. We either do or we do not believe that whatever comes forth is that which is best for this moment in time. Right or wrong notwithstanding. True or false notwithstanding. That's what we teach. That's what I believe. So I never go insane. I remember when Bill Clinton was president, and all of a sudden the House and the Senate went Republican. Yet I'm a Democrat. And I was in Texas at the time in a very liberal Democratic House. And my husband was there too, who was very liberally democratic. And when that happened, oh my God, I felt like I was in the middle of a nuclear eruption. Everyone around me was insane, and I just sat there. And I said, and Kevin can verify this, I literally said, I have to tell you all, I believe that if that's what happened, it's for the best. Oh my God, how I got out of there alive? I don't know. But that's what I believed. And to this day, that's how I live my life. I have to live my life that way. I teach science of mind. And for those of you who are here and consider yourselves religious scientists, new thoughters, metaphysicians, you must know that what comes forth is always for our highest good, if only to move us into action to make sure it never happens again. Whatever. But that's why a verdict is neither true or false. It is just the outcome, the divine outcome of any given situation. So, that's verdict. So, now deserve. Did people get what they deserved? Did that lovely boy, Trayvon, get what he deserved? Did George Zimmerman get what he deserved? Do the parents of both of those living, divine expressions of God get what they deserve? I know that Trayvon Martin's father wrote a beautiful tweet this morning, which basically said that his faith is immovable, and he trusts and knows that his son is loved. That's pretty powerful from the father of the victim, if you believe in such a thing as victim, which of course we don't. So deserve, from the Latin, desivere. I made that pronunciation up, but that's kind of how it looks. Just have to be honest. Didn't it sound like I knew what it was, though? Don't you love that? I love that. Anyway, back to this. It did sound French. Everything's French to me. Every language is French. So, Kevin always laughs because when we travel Europe, I order my meals in English with an accent. Doesn't matter what country we're in, I speak the same language. English with an accent. Anyway, I'm not demonstrating it because this is important stuff. So, deserve means, here's what's fascinating. From the Latin, whatever that word is, deserve means to devote oneself to. We think deserve means what's mine, what I deserve. It's not what it means. It means to devote oneself to. So, it makes that question I'm about to ask you a little more challenging for you to answer, which is, what do you deserve in your life? Which is really where I was going to go today before this whole thing happened. But they work perfectly together. What do you deserve in your life? If deserve means to devote oneself to, what do you deserve? Well, the next question has to be, what do you devote yourself to? What do you devote yourself to in life? What do you give yourself over to? What do you spend most of your time devoting your mental thinking capacity to in life? Because guess what? According to the Latin definition, that's what you deserve. Fascinating, isn't it? It's what Science of Mind teaches. What you focus your attention on, what you spend your time doing, what you devote your mind to, is what comes back to you. So, what do you equal in your mind? So now I want to ask you about the saying. Did you ever hear this? I know we've all heard the saying, you get what you deserve. Now that can be really mean to say to people. You know, someone's sick and you go, well, you get what you deserve. Or someone you know, has whatever failure in their life, well, you get what you deserve. And yet it's what we teach. It is what we teach. We just don't teach the meanness that goes along with that. We teach love only. Forgive everything. Remember who you are. So the question this morning for you, for all of us, is, do we believe that every single person on this planet gets what they deserve? Gets what they focus their attention on? Gets what they devote their mind to? Now, before you answer that too quickly, or too scientifically, I want you to really check in and see if you really believe it. Because I know there are instances I can point to Uganda now. I can point to the reverend in Uganda who, because he's gay and because that law is in place, he's pulled out. And to make a point, they starve 300 children. Did those 300 children get what they deserve? Now it becomes difficult, doesn't it? Now it becomes difficult to actually believe the understanding that deserve means that which one devotes time to in their mind. And I don't have an answer for that, to be perfectly honest. But I hold faith in the truth that every life is always evolving perfectly. And who knows if those 300 children, though the purpose of those 300 children is to create such a radical change in our conscious atmosphere that what they're going through right now ends up being the point of change. I don't know. But that's the question we all have to ask ourselves, because very often when we point to those things, we end up starting to question our own ability to say, I deserve. And that's really where I want to go today, for you to be able to leave here knowing what you deserve. You get what you give to mind, and mind will then do with it what it will, which is to create the verdict of your life. That's what's going on. You devote your mind to something, and your mind creates a verdict. A verdict, which means it takes everything you tell it and then gives it to you. So the question really has to become, what are you giving your mind? What do you give your mind most of the time? I mean, it's all mental, right? And everything is more than what it appears to be. And that's what's really important. When I look at the findings that they came up with, but so many people wrote so many different conclusions of why this man should have been guilty. And I know you can read them and just say logically, oh my God, how could that verdict have come forward? I get that. And yet, is that really my job? Is that really your job? I wasn't one of those jurors. I didn't have that job. Those jurors had that job to do what they felt was the best for and what was the most honest based on what was going on. And that's what they came forward with. There was something on the listserv this week, and listserv is the minister's list. There's a movie coming out, and I don't remember the name of it, but one of the people who wrote the movie is very anti-gay and has given a lot of money to try to make sure that gays did not get the right to get married. And I can't remember what movie it is, and I'm not here to teach that or to do anything about a boycott of that. And it was about boycotting, and it was on the ministry's list. And people went back and forth and argued, should we have a right to say that? Do we have a right to say that? And it came down to this understanding of what Dr. Ernest Holmes teaches. And what he does teach is, show me someone who is for something and against nothing. Show me a man who is for something and against nothing, and I will show you the next Jesus. Well, I would love to be the next Jesus, and I am certainly on my way to that. Minus the crucifixion, just to be clear. And I have no problem saying that. I very much respect the life of Jesus the Christ. I very much respect the idea of the Christhood and the Christ consciousness. To be for something and against nothing actually is kind of love only, forgive everything. It means to be for something against nothing. Now, here's the deal, though. Does that mean that we are saying that we should be inactive? That we should be non-socially active? No. To be for something, I can be for my rights as a gay man and still be against no one who seems to think I shouldn't have it. I can either put my energy here for love and leave it there and speak my mind and do what I need to do and walk the walk and walk in the parades and speak my word and sign the pledges and go to court, do everything I need to do and still not hate one person because of it. And not be against anyone. Right? So that's what being for something and against nothing means. And certainly on a day like today, when we're looking at a country that really is starting to be torn in half again, it's up to you and to me. Fill your Facebook page with what you believe, that you are for love and you are against no one, and that you support the truth, and that's that God is all there is. Put that out into the world. Tell your friends that. Allow the world around you to know where you stand so that it's not just those who are in dissent that take over the conversation. Be for something, but in being for something, do your best to be against nothing. I am is something to be of service to. The concept of I am. Deserve means to be of service to something. And what you're going to experience in your life is what you decide to be of service to. Deserve, of service. I am, for me, is the greatest thing for me to be of service to. To understand what that means in my life, to see when I'm falling short of it, when I'm expressing it. I am, and this is something I teach in CPR too, I am is not determined by what I do. I am doesn't change. Even when I do some stupid things. Has anyone here done anything stupid even like this week? This side really big on this side. So I am doesn't change. Whatever it was that y'all did. And I can raise my hand. I can be definitely over here with you this week. Right? It doesn't change the I am. And we have been taught to believe that every time we do something stupid, we have brought ourselves down. That there are great gradations of how great we are, and sometimes we're not so great. But I have two beautiful children, and I tell them, there's nothing you will ever do, could ever possibly do, that will ever change what I believe about you. And we all know that about our children, about these beautiful babies. Now we just have to know about ourselves. And then stand there and make sure the world knows that we believe it. Really, really believe it. Now, I don't have a big ending for this talk because I wanted to do something I haven't done in a very long time, which is, my sense is that there are questions. So I want to open it up to you. And I'm only going to give myself like 5 minutes, like 5 minutes, just to answer any questions you might have, any thoughts you may have, anything that's going on in your mind right now about what's going on in the world or even your own life. Just if you have something, some question you want to ask me about what I'm talking about, I am standing here today to know that I have the answer for you. Yes, Johnny.
You inspired one of Einstein's quotes to me. He said, two things are infinite, the universe and human stupidity.
I inspired that? Thank you.
He said that, and I'm not sure about the universe.
Did you all hear that quote? Two things are what is it?
Two things are infinite.
The universe and human stupidity, and I'm not sure about the universe. Got it. That's really great. I don't know how to respond to that. I think human stupidity is actually just mankind processing things. And I would never call it stupidity. I would just say, I don't think there's anything that's too stupid to have some relevance. For me, anyway. Yes, Doug.
Also, Einstein said that imagination is more important than knowledge.
Imagination is more important than knowledge. I love that we're going to Einstein from this. Perfect. Yes, right back here. Thank you, Lisa, for taking that.
I'm reminded of the time when the country thought Richard Nixon should have been impeached when he was pardoned. And I was in a self-realization congregation that following morning, and the monk said, "How do you know what the karma is of those two men? It is not up to you to decide. We don't know whether or not that is in the best interest of the country or not. But just please remember, does not have anything to do with your choice."
Great. And I would say that now, that many, many years later, I think we have evolved into knowing it is the best thing. It has to be the best thing. We live in a universe where divine evolution must move forward at all times. So, yes, right here.
I'm sorry.
Hold on, let me give you the mic.
We have no idea what trial you're talking about.
Really?
I'm sorry.
Cool for you.
We don't.
Okay. Okay. Wow, I wasn't expecting that to come up. But since it did, it was a trial of a young 17-year-old black youth who was walking through a neighborhood, and a white neighborhood watchman Hispanic doesn't really matter, does it? But the white-black thing was the issue, and I guess Hispanic maybe too. I don't see these things, color or race. It's very funny. Antoinette Earl, who's a minister in Oakland, she and I were talking, and I said this to Charles. I said, we were talking this week, and I said to her, I'm just looking forward to the day when people stop seeing you as a black minister and me as a white minister. I really do. And she was like, how are we going to make that happen? I said, by you and me starting to see ourselves not as black or white ministers. And it's important, and that's going to come. So this black youth was killed by a white guard, neighborhood watchman, and the trial was whether or not, and he had nothing on him, he was just on his way home, and there was a struggle, and he ended up being shot by this man. And I'm not going to go into any more facts because I don't care about the facts, but the jury that was put in place and the trial became a very hotbed for racial injustice. And it was just released last night. Trayvon Martin was, and the gentleman, George Zimmerman, was released and convicted not convicted, not guilty. Yes.
First off, it's amazing that you're taking questions because for the last 3 weeks, all of your talks have been just made me race with thoughts. And I'm like, I wish you would. Does anyone have questions? So amazing. But I think it's super awesome that the beginning, your title was I Am, and you changed it to Deserve. Because it takes my mind and says, well, we deserve to know that I am, which is kind of cool.
Hold that closer. Did you hear what he said? Yes. We deserve to know I am. Thank you.
The question I struggle with is taking a life, and I can't find anything in any of the Science of Mind reading that talks about taking a life and how to reconcile it.
I can answer that. The Science of Mind teaches that life is eternal. There's no such thing as taking a life, and that you can't lose a life. You may lose this experience of it, but that life is eternal, and that there is no end to life. So we buy into that. We believe that death is the end of something, but really what it's the end of is this experience. And the people that really suffer from that, from death, are those who are left. Because that's basically what we teach. So that would be my answer to that. That I've done a lot of thinking lately about death, and I certainly did it when I had cancer. I never thought I was going to die, but it does make you think. It does go, well, what if? Is it really just going to be I think about the two girls who died on the plane last week. And I think to myself, is it possible that as soon as death occurs, there's no such thing as death. So as soon as death occurs, you're on to that next realm and you're like, that was weird. Think about that. I would really like that to be the case. Yeah, and how cool. And look at this. It's like, bye-bye. Okay. So that really would be my answer, Brad, to be honest. Okay. Anybody else before I go? Yes, Terry Taylor. Speak loudly because she's not climbing that ladder. Go ahead, Terry.
Why do you think that this country, this congregation, and us are so polarized?
Why do I think that this country, this congregation, and us are so polarized? I don't think this congregation is polarized. I don't feel like it. It doesn't feel to me like anyone's energy in the room is on he was guilty and I want him to suffer. Does anybody have that mentality? I'm like, you're going to raise your hand. But if you do, I would hope you would be rethinking it. So why do I think okay. All polarity is learned. It is not what we're brought into this world with. Aiden has no polarity right now. Right? Aiden, I don't know if Aiden's still here. He's out there in the lobby because he woke up. which most of the world would do. So he woke up. So he has no polarity. All he knows is love and feed me. Right? So we learn it. So what's the simple answer to that? Let's start teaching the opposite. How about love only? Forgive everything and remember who you are. Lest you think that those were three things that came out of nowhere and were just this simple idea. No, it is what we need to be doing next. And we teach that, there'll be no polarity. So yeah, there is polarity, I suppose. I would choose not to see it, and I would choose not to embrace it, and I would choose not to take my time and put it on that so that it would actually start expanding. Okay, one more, and then we'll close.
Well, I believe, science of mind has taught me not to label anybody like black and blue or pink or whatever. That we are one, and we have to be one in the mind of God. That's what it is.
Excellent. That's a perfect ending. Thank you.